Alright guys, this will be the last video for the week, I promise. Tomorrow we'll just give you some to work through, but we have to get on through multiplying polynomials now. Yesterday we did adding and subtracting polynomials, which was just combining like terms. We've done that before. Multiplying polynomials will be a little bit different, but every step we do, we've done before. We're just going to combine them all together in a different way. So this is the same kind of thing as yesterday's material in the sense that it's not difficult, it's just a lot of steps. Every step is very easy, and you've been doing it for, I don't know, a couple of years now. But a ton of steps together can get overwhelming, and many people make mistakes just because they're doing a lot of the same types of steps. So I cannot stress enough how you have to be careful. Show everything you're doing and find a system that works for you. If you start doing these just differently every time, trying to do things in your head, you will skip steps and you won't realize you did it. You have to find a system that works for you that you can show me on paper. We're going to start by doing these three just to get kind of back into the idea of multiplying variables. But we should remember what this is. This is distributing. Okay, so the 3 is just going to get multiplied by everything inside. So that's 3 times 4 is 12. And then 3 times x, which is 3x. I always want to make sure that after I multiply, I can't simplify anymore. Those are not like terms, so we're done. The second one, we're distributing a variable, but that's okay. We can multiply variables by things. X times x, and then x times 1. Well, x times x means x squared. Do not put 2x. Okay, that's x plus x. X times x means x times itself, which is x squared. X times 1 is x. Again, not like terms. They're raised to different powers, so I can't add those. We're done. I have 3x squared times 5x to the 5th. We multiply the coefficients together and make sure that they add up. 3 times 5 is 15. X squared times x to the 5th. I add the powers together, and we're going to get x to the 10th. Okay, remember the exponent properties we talked about last week? When I multiply the powers, I add the exponents. So multiply our coefficients, our numbers, 3 times 5. That's 15. Hopefully we've known that since, 3rd grade. X squared times x to the 5th, from what we did at the end of the last chapter, exponent properties. When I multiply powers, I add the exponents. So I don't know why I wrote 10 to the x to the 10th, because that's not right. I'm sure some of you were freaking out a little bit on the inside. That's okay. X squared times x to the 5th, I add the powers, x to the 7th. My mistake. But that really goes to show that none of this is difficult, but if you go too fast, you'll make easy mistakes. Okay? Make sure you're going slow. Make sure you're thinking about every step you're doing. I caught my mistake, but that won't always happen. So you have to make sure you're paying attention and that you're staying with it. 2 plus 5 is 7, so that's x to the 7th. Uh-oh. That looks scary. Probably can't do it, can we? No, of course you can. Same thing. We're just distributing. This time I'm distributing a whole bunch of stuff. I'm distributing all of that. Okay, I'm just going to multiply it by every term in here. Multiply it by x to the 3rd. So I have 2x cubed times x cubed, which is going to be 2x to the, multiplying powers, I add the exponents, x to the 6th. Then we go to the next one. 2x cubed times 3x squared. So I multiply the coefficients first. 2 times 3 is 6. Then I do x cubed times x squared. X cubed times x squared. I add the powers, x to the 5th. And that one's done. We go on to the next one. Multiply the coefficients first. 2 times negative 2 is a negative 4. Okay, that's a negative 2. That's important. Don't forget about those negatives. 2 times negative 2 is negative 4. X to the 3rd times x. If there's no variable, or no exponent on a variable, then it's a 1. 2x to the 1st. So I have x cubed times x to the 1st is x to the 4th. There are 4 x's there total. We're adding the powers. And then the last one, 2x cubed times 5. Multiply the coefficients first. 2 times 5 is 10. X cubed times, well, there is no x over there, right? If we wanted to think about it, there would be an x to the 0. 0 x's are being multiplied there. So all I have are my x to the 3rds. That's all that's left. And we're done. I want to make sure that none of my powers are repeated, meaning that there are no common factors, no like terms, and there aren't any like terms. X to the 6th, X to the 5th, X to the 4th, X to the 3rd. They're all different, can't be combined, so we're done. If you want to pause this and finish copying, go ahead. Otherwise, I'm moving on. Oh, now it's really weird. Now I'm distributing an entire expression. Okay, check this out. I have to multiply this whole thing by 3x, and this whole thing by 2. So there's two ways to think about it. I could say, hey, that's x times 3x plus 2 minus 4 times 3x plus 2. And I can distribute them all. Don't worry about copying this down. I'm just going to show you, so don't panic. I'm going to go really fast. X times 3x is 3x squared. X times 2 is 2x. Negative 4 times 3x is negative 12x. Negative 4 times 2 is negative 8. 3x squared comes first. 2x minus 12x is negative 10x. 2x minus 12x is negative 10x. And then negative 8. And we're done. So if you want to think about it as splitting one of those up and distributing, that's fine. I have a better way, though. Okay, and I think this is going to be better in the long run. I'm going to distribute this across the other terms. So x times 3x and x times 2. X times 3x is 3x squared. Multiply the coefficients. There's a 1 times 3, and x times x is x squared. Then I do x times 2. Well, that's 2x. Okay, it's not rocket science there. Now I distribute this across both terms in the other expression. So I have negative 4 times 3x. Multiply the coefficients. Negative 12x. I'm going to write it down here, and I'll explain why in just a second. Then negative 4 times 2, I have to distribute across the 2 also, is a negative 8. The reason I wrote those like that, as I'm sure some of you have figured out, is I can write it as an addition problem. I have to combine my like terms. These are my like terms. So I just stacked them on top of the terms, or underneath the terms that were the same. I don't have another 3x squared or another x squared, so I just copy it down. But I do have 2x minus 12x, which is negative 10x. And there's nothing up here. That's like a 0. So I have 0 minus 8 is negative 8. This is written in the correct format. I'm in decreasing powers of x. There's my trinomial, 3 terms. Highest power is a 2. That comes first. It's got a leading coefficient of 3. It's really helpful if you do it that way. That allows you to do any type of multiplication problem, whether it's simple or difficult. If you always think about it as distributing, and you just distribute everything that's being multiplied. Okay, so let's do some more of those. Okay, I'm going to leave these up here. I know I've only done one, but I want to see if you guys can get anywhere with this. So go ahead and pause the video, take 2 or 3 minutes, and just see how far you can get. Then I will go through them. Okay, go ahead and pause it now. Okay, hopefully you had a good start at this. I realize I've only done one. It's probably still kind of stressful, or there's a lot going on. I'm going to go through these again, match it up with what you got. If you got stuck, that's fine. Follow me and we'll get you unstuck. Okay, this one's pretty simple. I'm just distributing an x. I have 2 things to multiply by, and then we're finished. X times 7x squared. That's going to be 7x cubed. X times 4 is 4x. Those are not like terms. We are done. Okay, not too bad. Now here comes the weird ones. I'm multiplying a binomial times a binomial. So I'm going to distribute my a across both of the other terms. So I'm going to multiply both of them by a. A times 2a is 2a squared. A times 1 is a positive a. Now I have to multiply 3 across both terms. 3 times 2a is 6a. Again, I'm going to write that underneath my other a term, and I'll remind you why in a minute. 3 times 1 is a 3. I wrote it like this so that I can combine my like terms very easily. I think it gives you a nice format for combining like terms, and it keeps them straight. We're going to get to some in a minute that are a lot more complicated. Doing it this way keeps a pattern that you can apply to any type of multiplication. So I add straight down. That's 2a squared. A plus 6a is positive 7a, and then there's a positive 3. And you're finished. They're written in the right order. Highest power comes first, and there are no like terms left. Okay. The third one, same thing. Distribute the 4n across both other terms. 4n times n is 4n squared. 4n times 5 is 20n. Negative 1, we have to multiply by a negative also, not just 1. Negative 1 times n, negative 1 times 5. Well, a negative 1 times n is just a negative n. I write that under my other n terms. Negative 1 times 5 is a negative 5. Okay, and then we add straight down. So I have 4n squared. 20 minus 1n is 19n. And then I just have a negative 5. Okay, I went fast. Hopefully you were able to follow the pattern. If you got them yourself, then that's great. You're going to have a very easy time with the next few days. If you're still not quite there, that's okay. We're going to do some more together. You'll have plenty of time, I hope, at the end of the period to work with each other, help each other out. Those of you who know what's going on, show the others kind of what's working for you. When I come back on Friday, we will review this stuff together. Don't worry, I'll reteach some of this to those of you who are still confused. I know this isn't the best way to do this because you can't ask me questions. I can't clarify things for you, and I can't see what you're struggling with. So I'm just up here kind of guessing what you're going to get stuck on and hoping that I can alleviate some of that for you, but I can't do that until I talk to you. Do your best. Keep up as much as you can. If you have to pause this to keep copying work down, that's fine. Section 9.2 in the book has all this stuff as well. If you go to my website, you can go to the learning target for 9.2 and watch the Khan Academy video. That might not be a bad idea. You can just Google multiplying polynomials or multiplying binomials, and that might help too if you're still stuck after this is done. Okay, so let's move on. There's another way to do this where you write it like just a number multiplication problem, like this. Okay. If you like doing it this way, that's fine. This example is in your book. I don't like doing it this way, and I'm going to show you the way I prefer to do it. This is up here. If you want to copy this, go ahead and just get it out of the book. It's in section 9.2. I'm just going to keep moving and show you how that distribution method we talked about works a little bit better. So here's another one. A trinomial, 3 terms, times a binomial, 2 terms. I'm going to distribute my 2x squared across both of these from the other factor, my 4x minus 3, the other thing I'm multiplying by. 2x squared times 4x is an 8x cubed. 2 times 4 is 8. X squared times x is x to the third. There are 3 x's total. Now I have to do 2x squared times negative 3, the second term. So 2 times negative 3 is negative 6. The 3 doesn't have any x's attached to it, so I just keep the x squared from the first term. And we're done with this one. Now I take my 5x and I distribute that across both terms from the other expression. 5x times 4x. 5 times 4 is 20. X times x is x squared. Again, I'm going to write it underneath the other term that matches, the x squareds. This is a good example that shows you why I keep saying that, how that this method really helps you apply it to any multiplication problem, and it won't get any harder, it just gets a little bit longer. It takes a little bit longer, there are more steps, but it doesn't get any more difficult. So we did 5x times 4x. Now we have 5x times negative 3. 5 times negative 3 is negative 15, and there's just going to be 1x. So I have negative 15x. I don't have any terms already like that, so it just goes outside here, negative 15x. And I'm done with that one. I just have to do this one more time. So you see that I'm just going to do the same thing. I just have to do it 3 times. Negative 1 times 4x, then negative 1 times negative 3. Well, negative 1 times 4x is just a negative 4x. I'm going to write that underneath the other term that's like that just has x's. Hopefully you can kind of see where this is going. Negative 1 times negative 3 is a positive 3. There are no other terms written down so far that are just constants, so I just go ahead and keep sticking it out. Now here's my addition problem. See how it's staggered like that? How all the powers get staggered all over by 1? When I add, I just add straight down. 8x cubed, negative 6x squared, plus 20x squared. Well, that's negative 6 plus 20 is going to be 14x squared. It just really helps you organize your like terms. Negative 15x minus 4x. Negative 15 minus 4 is negative 19. Okay, if that needs to be done on the calculator so you don't get confused by double negatives, then by all means do that. Negative 19x. And then I just have a 3. If you keep it in this format, if you keep recording your steps this way, your answer will always be simplified. 8x cubed plus 14x squared minus 19x plus 3. It's a polynomial. It has 4 terms. The leading coefficient is an 8, and its highest power, or its degree, is 3. We would say this is a cubic function. Okay. Again, if you want to pause this to copy the steps, go ahead. Let me erase all my work up here so you can see the original problem. That's about as ugly as they're ever going to get. It's just a lot of steps. Not difficult, just a lot of steps. Okay. Here's the way we did it. I'm going to keep moving. I'm going to pause it real fast, or I'm going to ask you to pause it real fast. Take 3 or 4 minutes, maybe even 5 on these because these are a little bit longer, and see how far you can get. If you get stuck on number 4 or number 5, try number 6. That one's just 2 binomials. Maybe even start with that one. Okay? Follow the pattern, one step at a time, write them all down, see how far you can get. Go ahead and unpause it after 5 minutes or so, and I will go through them, and we'll get you guys out of here. Okay, go ahead and pause it. All right, let's go through these. Hopefully you guys got a good start. Maybe you feel like you got 1 or 2 of them right. If you finished all 3, hopefully you had success and you got to the right place. If not, follow me. Correct your mistakes if there are any. If you just got stuck, then go ahead and pick up with me where you got stuck, and we'll see if we can get through these together. I'm just going to distribute 3 times. That's all we have to do. X squared times x is x cubed. X squared times 2 is 2x squared. I'll change colors. 2x times x is 2x squared. Notice I'm lining it up with the other like terms. 2x times 2 is 4x. If you follow this pattern, you'll see that there's always going to be a term that doesn't match. Just stick that one on the right, and it'll match with the next round. The last one, 1 times x is just x. 1 times 2 is 2. Then we're just going to add all our like terms. Nothing there, so that's, not 3x, x cubed. X cubed. 2x squared plus 2x squared is 4x squared. 2 plus 2 is 4. 4x plus x, 5x. And then there's a 2. Okay, so that's not so bad. We're done. A lot of steps, yes, but they're not difficult steps. And if you keep yourself organized, if you write neatly and you line things up, it's pretty easy to finish it out. Okay, let's do one more of those. Give myself some room here. 3y squared times 2y is going to be 6y to the third. 3y squared times negative 3, negative 9y squared. Negative y times 2y. Yes, that's a negative y. That negative comes with it. So I have negative 2y squared, y times y. Then negative y times negative 3 would be a positive 3y. Again, that term doesn't match, so we just stick it on the right. The last time through, notice these are the same steps over and over. We're just doing it one time for each term. 5 times 2y is 10y. 5 times 2 is 10. 5 times negative 3, negative 15. When I go to add these together, I didn't leave myself enough room here, 6y cubed, there are no other y cubes, so it goes by itself. Negative 9y squared minus 2y squared. If they're both negative, it's like I add them together, but it gets more negative, so that's negative 11y squared. Negative 9 minus 2. Positive 3y plus 10y is 13y, and then there's a minus 15. Like I said, if you keep it organized and you go slowly and you pay attention with the steps, each step is not difficult. You just have to find that pattern and stick with it. Last one, I'm only going to have to do it twice now. It's just 2 binomials. 4b times b, 4b squared. 4b times negative 2, negative 8b. Negative 5 times b, negative 5b, negative 5 times negative 2 is a positive 10. We add them together. 4b squared minus 13b plus 10. Okay, I know I'm going fast, guys. I hope that's all right. If you're getting stuck, you can always pause this and copy down. If somebody knows what's going on, they can explain it. I'm sorry, there's no way for me to take questions. I'm sure there are some. Like I said, this stuff's in the book. There's examples written out. The book does it a couple different ways. That might be helpful to you. That might just confuse you more. On Khan Academy, if you go to my learning targets, this is section 9.2. He does it. You can watch the video there if that helps. Tomorrow we're just going to do more of this kind of stuff. We're not doing anything new really. And then I'll be back on Friday to answer all week's worth of questions and hopefully fill in any holes that we are making as we go. This isn't ideal, but hopefully we can get by. So that's it. Okay, you guys are day 2's homework. You got the homework guides yesterday. If you didn't get one, copy off someone else. Hopefully they're in the basket over on the counter if you missed it. There's a book assignment due tomorrow. Make sure you put your name on it. You're going to turn this one in also. More of the same stuff tomorrow, and I'll be back on Friday to go over it all with you. Okay, good luck. Work together. Help each other out. You'll be fine.